My name is Caitlin, and I am a zooarchaeologist and the faunal analyst at the Museum of New Mexico, Office of Archaeological Studies. What does that mean? It means that I am a special type of archaeologist who studies animal remains, like bones, teeth, antlers, and horns, that were recovered from archaeological sites. Every day, it's my job to go into a lab and try to identify mystery bones, like these ones right here. These mystery bones are typical examples of what we find at an archaeological site. They are all broken and dirty, and many of the pieces are very small. It is my job to take these little pieces of bone and figure out what animal and which part of the body each one of these is from. Once I have that information, I can use it to address important questions about how people lived and what they ate in the past. Identifying mystery bones first requires that you have a good understanding of animal biology, or more specifically, animal adaptations. Every animal, everywhere in the world, has unique and amazing characteristics called adaptations that allow it to survive and thrive in its natural environment. Today's video is all about adaptation, what they are, what their purpose is, and why archaeologists need to know about them. And I have a couple of amazing animal guests that are going to help us understand adaptation. So let's get started. Today's first animal guest is one that should be very familiar to all of you, a rooster. Now, chickens are a domesticated animal, which means they've been kept and cared for by humans for many generations. But even though chickens, like this little guy, are domesticated, they still have many of the same animal adaptations as their wild ancestors, the red jungle fowl. Jungle fowl are native to the humid jungles of Southeast Asia. They have a fleshy growth on the top of the head called a comb. This helps chickens and jungle fowl stay cool during hot weather. Like red jungle fowl, chickens also forage for all of their food on the ground. They use their beak and their nails to dig through the dirt and plant matter to find bugs and other tasty things to eat. They have no teeth, though, so they rely on a specialized organ called a gizzard to break up their food so they can digest it. Both chickens and jungle fowl live in groups, called flocks, with a single male in charge. Male jungle fowl and chickens have a sharp, bony projection on each leg called a spur. Males use these to protect themselves and all the hens in their flock. In addition to adaptations that are specific to the red jungle fowl, chickens also have adaptations that are common to all types of birds, like being able to lay eggs. Another adaptation that almost all types of birds have is the ability to fly. Flying is possible because of their feathers, of course, but also requires powerful muscles and a skeleton made up of thin, lightweight bones. Our second animal guest is a little bit more exotic. This little lady is a bearded dragon. Now, she is a reptile, which means she has some of the same animal adaptations that are common to all reptiles, like dry, scaly skin and the ability to lay eggs. Bearded dragons are native to the deserts of Australia. This is a harsh environment in which food can be hard to find. Because of this, bearded dragons have very large stomachs, which they fill up whenever and wherever they're able to find food. Other adaptations in their digestive system allow them to get most of the water they need just from the food they eat. They also have a unique form of fat storage called fat pads, which are located on their head and on their shoulders. They can live off this stored fat for long periods of time when food has become difficult to find. Bearded dragons are semi-arboreal, a term that means that although they spend a lot of time on the ground, they are also good climbers. They use their claws to help them climb trees and other things in search of food and warm places to relax. Their large back feet and powerful legs can also be used to dig burrows when they want to get out of the sun. Bearded dragons get their name from the large throat pouch they have, known as a beard. When threatened, they turn the skin on their throat a scary black color and expand their beard using specialized bones in their throat. They can also inflate their bodies to appear larger and more impressive. These adaptations, plus a body covered in spikes and a natural camouflage, allow little guys like this one to avoid many threats. Our final animal guest is definitely our largest, this beautiful donkey. Now, donkeys are mammals, and so like all mammals, they are covered in hair, they are warm-blooded, and they give birth to live young. Donkeys, like their closest relatives, zebras and horses, all have a long face, a long neck, and a mane of hair. But donkeys also have a special adaptation all their own. These huge, adorable ears, which allow them to stay cool in their native desert environment. Did you know that donkeys are amazing runners? Or that they walk on their tiptoes? Both these things are possible because of special adaptations in their feet. Donkeys, like horses, have a single giant toe on the end of their foot, and it is surrounded by a protective nail called a hoof. Hooves are made of the same stuff as your fingernails, but are much thicker. Donkeys have narrower hooves than horses, which are great for walking across rocky ground. They also have very firm ankles, so they rarely trip or fall. Of course, hooves are not great for picking things up. So donkeys have big, flexible lips that they use for grabbing food and other things. They also have great eyesight and can sleep standing up. Adaptations that allow them to quickly spot and escape from danger. As I'm sure you noticed, each of our animal guests today were very different from each other. They come from different environments in different parts of the world, and they each have their own special adaptations related to how they move and what they eat. But they all have one very important thing in common. They are all vertebrate animals. Vertebrate is a scientific term. Vertebrate animals are ones that have a skeleton on the inside of their body, and that skeleton includes a central spine. All mammals, birds, amphibians, fish, and reptiles are vertebrate animals. And people are vertebrates too. Animals that do not have a central spine are called invertebrates. For example, the fish in this saltwater tank are vertebrates, but the shrimp, snails, and even the corals that live alongside them are invertebrate animals. Our focus today is on vertebrate animals. What is really amazing is that even though they may look completely different on the outside, all vertebrate animals have basically the same bones in their skeleton. The bones are just different sizes and shapes because of differences in how the animals move and what they eat. Or, in other words, they have the same bones, but different skeletal adaptations. Now let's go check out some bones in the lab to see some examples of skeletal adaptations. Remember, skeletal adaptations are all about diet and movement. So animals that eat the same kinds of foods or move in a similar way will share some of the same skeletal adaptations. Animals that have different diets or different ways of moving will have different skeletal adaptations. For example, carnivores, which is the scientific term for animals that eat meat, all have sharp, pointy teeth for ripping and tearing. Carnivores also have eyes that face forward, and this helps them be better hunters. Animals that eat mainly plants are called herbivores, and they have wide, flat teeth for grinding up those plants. Herbivores, as well as many omnivores, that's a word that refers to animals that eat both meat and plants, tend to have eyes located on the sides of their head. This helps them see any dangerous carnivores that might be nearby. Next, we are going to look at some examples of skeletal adaptations related to movement. First, it helps to think about some of the different ways that animals can move. Some animals run, some hop, some climb, some dig, and still others slither or fly or swim. Each one of these different ways of moving requires its own special skeletal adaptations. These bones here in front of me are all from the same part of the body. They are all examples of a bone called the humerus, or the upper arm bone for us humans. Each humerus bone in this group is from a different type of animal. We are going to look at each humerus and talk about the movement adaptations of the specific animal that it is from. This first humerus is from a coyote. Coyotes have to be able to run quickly in order to catch their prey. So like all runners, the bones of their legs are slender and flexible. This humerus here is from a hopping animal, a cottontail rabbit. Animals that hop are interesting
because their front legs are a different size than their back legs. If we compare this cottontail humerus, which is from the front leg, to the bones of a cottontail's back leg, you can see that the humerus is shorter than either of the back leg bones. The large back legs of a hopper provide power for jumping, and they use their small front legs and tail for balance. This tiny humerus is from a burrowing animal called a pocket gopher. Digging takes a lot of muscle, so a digger's bones are built for power. The humerus and other leg bones from diggers are short and thick. The big lumps and bumps on the humerus are where their strong arm muscles connect to their skeleton. This big, heavy humerus is from a sea lion. Swimming, like digging, requires very strong muscles, so swimmers also have short, thick bones with big bumps where their muscles connect. But swimmers' bones are flatter to create the fan-like flippers they use to move through the water. This last humerus is from a turkey. Turkeys, like all flyers, have thin, delicate bones that are very lightweight. No bird could fly if they had a big, heavy skeleton. Remember these mystery bones? You now know that each of these bones contains evidence of how that animal moved and what it ate. Archaeologists like me can use that evidence and our knowledge of animal adaptations to figure out exactly what animal each bone is from and solve this mystery. Thank you all for joining me and our animal guests today to learn about animal adaptations. You can now use your new knowledge to design your own amazing imaginary creature with our Fantastic Beasts activity. This and other fun downloadable activities and videos can be found at our website at nmarchaeology.org. So go check it out!